Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Lewis Basketball Network, starring your boy Lewis, and I am back once again with another banger with yet another video. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell to always keep receiving the latest content. Thank you guys for always taking the time to watch my videos, and at the end of each video, make sure to share this video. It'll only help the channel grow. Truly appreciate it. Hope everyone had a wonderful weekend. Happy Tuesday morning, everybody. Hope everyone has a wonderful and productive day. Let's get right into it, shall we? A couple of things I wanted to cover on this, guys. One, as we know, last night the San Antonio Spurs played the Golden State Warriors. Shout out to Spurs fans and once again, shout out to the San Antonio Spurs for beating the Warriors 130 to 125 last night. I believe was the score. But they beat the Warriors on the night that Andrew Bogut made his return. While DeMarcus Cousins was out with an ankle injury, Kevin Durant also came back last night. I really can't go deep into the stats, but I know that Steph Curry had 25 points. I know Klay Thompson only finished with 14. He hit 4-7 from three-point range, but both Curry and Thompson struggled early in the game. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they missed their first 13 shots to start the game, and it was an uphill battle. San Antonio really blitzkrieged them from the start. They went into LaMarcus, who was destroying Draymond Green in the post, and that was a bad matchup for him. And you have to give the Spurs a lot of credit. There's no excuses for the Warriors. They struggled. They had an off night. You know, you're not going to see games like this from the Warriors constantly, even though this has been the most inconsistent you've seen the Warriors pretty much throughout, you know, this run that they've been on. 4 straight finals and 3 championships in the last 4 years. But what we got to understand is that the San Antonio Spurs, after losing Kawhi Leonard and Danny Green and Tony Parker going to the Charlotte Hornets, nobody really saw the Spurs as even possibly a playoff team. They got off to such a slow start. And now if you look at the standings, they're 42-29. Ladies and gentlemen, they eclipsed the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are now in 6th place after being in 3rd place for quite a while. The Thunder have not been playing good basketball as of late. As a matter of fact, the Thunder, they just lost their last game just now to the, who were they playing? I believe to the Miami Heat at home. And so now what's happening is that they're hurt. Paul George's MVP case is taking a real dip now because of the Thunder losing these ball games. And Russell Westbrook was suspended, so he didn't play in that Monday game. And what I'm starting to realize with Russell Westbrook is that in order to beat, part of the reason to beat the Thunder is to use Russell's emotion against him, because we know how he loves to play with that passion and that fire. But at the same time, you can use his emotions against him and really take him out. You could take him out of the game. And when that happens, the Thunder are even less effective. They have much more impact when you see Russ engage and not getting himself emotional and keeping himself under control. And my issue with Russell Westbrook is he has still not learned to slow the game down mentally. He's still trying to go at 120 miles an hour. Yeah, like I said that he has matured into a leader, but you have to see it in the playoffs. And I just feel like his emotions are going to be used against him. And it's going to be one big reason, along with the fact that Paul George, as well as he's played this season, this is my issue with Paul George. It's like he has a spurt where you see flashes of he looks like an MVP. Then his play tails off, and all of a sudden he becomes an afterthought. So Paul George and Russ, they're going to have to prove it in the postseason. But I had looked at them as a threat, but right now they're not looking like it, and I hope they can prove me wrong in the playoffs. But once again, shout out to the San Antonio Spurs. Nobody had this team as a playoff team, and once again, we got to put respect on Greg Popovich's name. This is arguably his best coaching job of his entire career. I mean, he's always been a great coach, and he's coached great players, and like I said, and I've always said this, coaches make players, players make coaches. Like, it's a two-way street. But I mean, you get back to DeMar DeRozan. I mean, people were looking at it as, you know, this could be like the year that they don't make the playoffs. They might have a losing record for the first time. And somehow, some way, if the Spurs can go at least 8-3 in the last 11 games, they would have had an unexpected 50-win season that nobody even saw coming. So, unbelievable coaching. And shout out to the players in that system. They're playing together as a basketball team. They're actually gotten better defensively they've won 9 games in a row. And they quietly under the radar, the San Antonio Spurs have won 9 straight games with the win against the Golden State Warriors. So shout out to them, man. They are just playing well right now. They deserve a lot of credit. And look how quiet they have moved now to 5th in the West. Shout out to them. Also, Walt Frazier's comments. I wanted to get onto Walt Frazier's comments because I think, we talked about how the Lakers had lost to the Knicks. The Lakers lost to a team that's purposely tanking, and now the Lakers are purposely trying to tank. It now more so looks like, because look, this is part of the reason why LeBron James is showing disengagement, because now he's trying to see if he can get a #1 pick possibly in Zion Williamson to get a trade package to try to get Anthony Davis. And he just doesn't care because he didn't get what he wanted. Now, Walt Frazier made some interesting comments when LeBron was sitting at the end of the bench and Tyson Chandler happened to be behind him. And he says that, to the public perception, you have to show that you're a leader. There may be issues going on in the locker room, but at least the perception of the public, you have to show that you're a leader. You have to show that you're showing team camaraderie, you're showing togetherness, that you're in the team huddles. And Clyde Drexler is absolutely right. And I heard Bronze Sexuals going in the comments talking about who is Clyde Frazier. Let me tell you who Clyde Frazier is. Clyde Frazier is a 2-time NBA champion who was one of the leaders, along with Willis Reed, on those great Knicks championship teams of the early 70s that Phil Jackson played on when Phil Jackson was a role player. If I remember correctly, in Game 7 of the 1970 NBA Finals, this was when Willis Reed injured his hamstring, and he came into a standing ovation in Game 7. His presence inspired the New York Knicks. He hit his first 2 shots and didn't play the rest of the game. What did Walt Clyde Frazier do? He scored 36 points and had 19 assists in a Game 7. That, to me, showed you clutch. You're going against Wilt Chamberlain. You're going against Jerry West. You're going against Elgin Baylor. I mean, you're going against a trio of Hall of Famers, man. And he came up, and those were some great Knicks teams. They weren't the most talented team, but they had really good players. You had Phil Jackson. You had Dave DeBusschere. You had Bill Bradley. You had, again, Clyde Frazier. Phil Jackson, coached by the legendary Hall of Famer Red Holtzman. So, Clyde is he's a classy guy. He's one of the more respected players in NBA history. So Walt Frazier has the clout to talk about LeBron James. And his criticism was fair. He said leadership. And now the Bronze Sexuals are twisting it around and like, oh, he's talking about the end of the bench and that, oh, he was talking with Tyson Chandler. Let me tell you something. It's so crazy that the Bronze Sexuals talk about LeBron sitting at the end of the bench, that, oh, Walt's reaching and Walt ain't nobody, and he's jealous of LeBron. What does he have to be jealous about? He was on great championship teams. What, because he doesn't have MVPs or anything like that? I think Walt Frazier's pretty content with his career. And he provides great commentary as a Knicks broadcaster. And I've enjoyed listening to his voice for years, man, as a Knicks fan. As much as we're struggling. And I told you, James Dolan needs to go if we're ever going to change the culture of that franchise. Simple as that. But let's be real here. He, without question, is one of the most respected players in the history of the game. And now LeBron stands want to nitpick because what he said was the absolute truth. And that's what they're missing with Clyde's point. He's talking about leadership. It doesn't matter. LeBron can sit at the end of the bench because it's his side of the bench. But you gotta have to at least show togetherness, and he hasn't showed that. He's just engaged. And Clyde is right. He doesn't care. When he didn't get the AD trade after missing out 18 games, he checked out. And you know what I'm starting to notice as well? You notice that LeBron James, when he went to Miami, he didn't win in his first year and ended up winning in the second year. You notice that when he went back to Cleveland, he didn't win in his first year. He won the very next year. And you notice now that after being the king of the East and then becoming a peasant in the Western Conference, LeBron James is he's not going to make the postseason in his first year in the West. And I'm very, very glad, to be honest with you. Him going to the West was actually a blessing in disguise. Unfortunately, it had to be with the Lakers. But this is to show you that this myth that LeBron makes teammates better, this myth that LeBron makes you an instant 50-win team, this myth that LeBron carries bum teams to the finals, as LeBron sexuals like to say, because I'm going that route now, it was all exposed in one season. All I want to hear is 4th place. The late LeBron had you in 4th place, ignoring the other players that played on the team. The San Antonio Spurs, look where they started and look where they're at right now. DeMar DeRozan wasn't even an all-star this year. Look where the Spurs started and look where they're at now. And here's another telltale stat about the San Antonio Spurs. I don't know if you guys know this, but the Spurs have the lowest amount of days with a losing record in NBA history since in the last 22 years. They've only had a losing record for a total of 65 days in the last 22 seasons. No other team in NBA history has had the least amount of days with a losing record than the San Antonio Spurs. And the other 4 teams that they showed in this stat were all in the Western Conference, and they're over 1,000 days with a losing record. That would be the Houston Rockets, the Dallas Mavericks, the Portland Trail Blazers, and the Utah Jazz. Out of the 3 Texas teams, the San Antonio Spurs don't even have even close to 70 days with a losing record. That is an incredible stat, and I did not know that. It just tells you the system, the organization, how it's run, and how these guys continue to win and play together as a team. But back to LeBron James for a second. You see, I feel like LeBron loves to create movies. This is why he's such a good actor, ladies and gentlemen. Think about it. In his first year, the LeBron fans have been saying, oh, guys want to play with him. Chris Bosh wants to play with LeBron. I'm sorry, did Chris Bosh go to the Cleveland Cavaliers, or did he sign with Dwayne Wade's Miami Heat? I'm confused here. When he announced that he was going back to Cleveland for business decisions, wasn't it he the one that joined Kyrie Irving when Kyrie Irving signed a 5-year, $90 million contract? And talk about, oh, but Kevin Love wanted to play with LeBron. Wait a minute. When LeBron went back to Cleveland and the Cavaliers had the #1 pick with Andrew Wiggins, they used that as a trade package to trade for Kevin Love. You see how the Bron sexuals love to plot twist stories? This is all clout, this is all facts, and they try to twist the story. I tell you. And then, so like I said, with Clive Frazier, he's absolutely right in what he's talking about, ladies and gentlemen. He's absolutely right. There's no need for Clyde to be jealous of LeBron. Clyde's playing days are over. He retired in the late 70s. And now what they're trying to do is now they're trying to twist words around, saying that who is Clive Frazier? Clyde's jealous of LeBron. It's like, yo, you guys are so triggered in what he said, and he's absolutely right. LeBron James has shown no leadership for the last couple of years, and him coming to the West thoroughly exposed him on so many levels that it's got you upset. That saying, oh, LeBron is averaging 30. I said, I'm going to say this once again. Put the camera on me. Camera, let me get that close up right now, because I'm going to say this right now. LeBron James is averaging 27 points, 8 rebounds, and 9 assists. You know what's so telltale about those stats, ladies and gentlemen? His rebounds are overrated. You want to know why? Because LeBron James does not defend one-on-one. He stays stationary around the basket. While his teammates are doing the work on the perimeter defenses, LeBron doesn't even box out. He has the lowest box outs of any player on the team. That's when those guys box out, LeBron gets those easy rebounds. LeBron James is not even a great offensive rebounder. When you're a great rebounder does it on the defensive glass and the offensive glass. LeBron James does it on the defensive glass, but only when his players box out. That's why they want to use the whole point. They want to use what I call the XYZ stats. Points, rebounds, assists. Because LeBron has more points, he has more rebounds, he has more assists. His assists come with his ball domination. They don't come with the secondary assists. That's why his assist numbers are inflated when he averages 9 assists. And I told you that he's only the only small forward in the top 10. Yo, we talking about nearly the top 30 are all point guards. And I say nearly because there's like about 2 or 3 of them that are like combo guards. Because they were kind of more or so scorers. I mean, dude, you got blocked by a Croatian plumber in Mario Hezonja, a number 5 pick who was a bust in Orlando. And I remember when Shannon tried to use the number 5 pick as an excuse as to why LeBron got blocked and try to boost up Mario Hezonja. I'm not trying to disrespect the brother, but come on, man. It's the truth. He hadn't played since February 13th, and the block on LeBron James was only the 7th block of the season. I don't care if the Lakers are now purposely tanking and they're not going to be a playoff team. LeBron James has a beaten, defeated mindset, ladies and gentlemen. That's what you guys have got to understand. These numbers that people just keep gloating, they're overrated. He's a great player, but his stats are overrated. His assist numbers are overrated, and his rebounding is overrated. Charles Barkley is a better rebounder than LeBron. I look at LeBron as this way. He is a Karl Malone of this generation. He could put up big numbers. And he's put in these inflated numbers in a much weaker era. Because you remember, LeBron was drafted in 2003, and he entered the 2003-2004 season in the last season when hand checking was allowed. And that season was the greatest defensive era in NBA history. The San Antonio Spurs had a defensive rating of 94.1 that year, which was the lowest since the post-merger in the shot clock era. The very next season, when they eliminated hand checking, the Spurs defensive rating went up 4 points, 4.7 points. And it was still the best in the NBA at 98.8, I believe. And now, then when I watch First Things First, Nick Wright and Chris Carter are talking. Well, Chris Carter says he's concerned for the Lakers just because of the public image of the franchise has been very destroyed by the actions of what LeBron James and, the team camaraderie, what it's done. And Nick Wright is trying to excuse LeBron, saying, oh, there's players who want to play with LeBron. Players haven't publicly come out and say that they don't want to play. Oh, I've heard nothing but positive things. Once again, Nick LeCoke Wright, with his nose up LeBron's ass and his nuts in his mouth, is trying to find a way to try to defend LeBron James when there's just really no defending it. The fans have used 27-8-9, 27-8-8 as excuse. People need to wake up and smell the coffee. LeBron James is not as great as people claim to be. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to say this right now. This season, to me, has proven to me that LeBron is all about movies. Because what he's going to do is he's going to create another narrative. Let's say LeBron wins a championship next year. He's going to build this adversity narrative of how he didn't win his first year in Miami, but then he wins the next year in 2012 and just says, I had to humble myself. Then the same thing with Cleveland going home. He didn't win in his first season, and then, try to get redemption after coming back from 3-1 with the Golden State Warriors, and we know that situation. And now in his first year, becoming a peasant in the Western Conference after being the self-proclaimed king of the East, he comes out and misses the playoffs when the Lakers were still mathematically in it. And what's so crazy is that LeBron James was the one. Magic Johnson came out and said LeBron had influence in a lot of the decisions that they made in terms of the players that he wanted to bring. He brought all these proven, and the crazy part is a lot of these veterans are proven guys. Guys who've won championships on his watch. These are some of the guys that he wanted. And all the excuse that I constantly hear is that LeBron missed 18 games. And now that the Lakers are not making the playoffs and LeBron is getting all this heat, all this criticism, it's unfair. And now you have to understand the other players were out. You see why I keep telling you, ladies and gentlemen, that the LeBron apologists, the 3-6 Mafia, the LeCronies continue to use narratives and excuses to deflect criticism off of LeBron James? This is exactly what I'm talking about. Kevin Durant was absolutely right in the toxic environment. Oh, and another thing. Weren't the media, again, when LeBron sitting on the bench, weren't they ripping Rajon Rondo when he did it? And say how it didn't look right with the way that he was sitting at far away from the team? And how the coaches were looking at them? Or how about when Walt Frazier criticized Kevin Durant for going to Golden State and saying that he's not going to earn, he's not earning my respect because he went to Golden State. I remember Nick Wright was gloating about how right Walt Frazier is about that. I remember how the media was saying, oh, he's absolutely right because Kevin Durant went to a 73-19. But now that he talks about LeBron's leadership and questions his leadership and the camaraderie of his teammates because he doesn't like to be in huddles and want to use the Tyson Chandler excuse, oh, Walt Frazier's reaching. Oh, but it's absolutely ridiculous. Oh, because it's LeBron James. Kevin Durant was exactly right. Walt Frazier is exactly right as well. And like I said, it's a blessing in disguise that LeBron came out here to the Western Conference so that we could really see what kind of player he is. This whole narrative that LeBron makes players better, out the window. This whole thing that LeBron makes you a 50-win team, out the window. This instance that he makes you a final contender, out the window. I'm going to say it again, ladies and gentlemen. Kyrie, 27.9 career in the NBA Finals. Dwayne Wade, 23.9. It went down because of 2014, but Dwayne Wade was averaging near 25 in the Finals. As a matter of fact, Dwayne Wade is in the top 20 all-time in NBA Finals points. He's currently at 19. So if LeBron doesn't have this help, how does he have a top 20 player?